Coaches up. Coaches up.
Go to coach first.
Like, it was obviously two different halves. A lot of things that were frustrating, discouraging, things that we're going to have to clean up when we watch the tape tomorrow. And then some things that were more encouraging in the second half. So, by no means is it a game you come away from and feel like, man, you're ready for the regular season to start. We've got a lot of work still to do. So I thought we played pretty good defense early in the game. I thought offensively we were awful.
How much stock do you put in a quarterback like Taysom leading your team back to a win?
Look, it's always been a game of emotion and momentum, and I thought he did a really good job with that. I mean, that's real. And so quite a bit of stock.
Is that an example of like a lot of the things that he can do well? A lot. I mean, a
Yeah.
lot of the.
Yeah. I was encouraged. I think he's had a good camp. He and Teddy both, I feel like, have progressed, and I've seen it day in and day out at practice. Teddy was sick, and I probably should have gotten him out of the game earlier, but we weren't going to play Drew, and then Taysom came in and did a really good job.
Are you calling things grossly different when Taysom?
I think it's easier to do when they're in as a starter for a game. It's a little bit more challenging as you put a plan together. I thought Pete did a good job of, utilizing some of the things that those guys do maybe differently than Drew. But yeah, you're trying to maybe highlight some things that they do specifically well. Now, some of them were just scrambles, and he's pretty good when he's running.
Coach, looked like Deontay Harris. Some nice plays.
He did. He should have caught the one that landed on the ground. That bothered me. So there's a little bit of you don't know what you're going to get, and yet, man, you see some good signs. So I'm encouraged, but just some of the details he's got to work on. But he's certainly confident, and you see his quickness.
You said Teddy was sick. You feel like that played a role in
Well, look, it was. He didn't get a lot of help. There were a lot of dirty hands in those drives early on offensively. I mean, we get the ball inside the 50, and we just did a poor job. Yeah, that's why I felt like it was really two different halves when you watch the game.
Do you have maybe some of those incompletions Teddy rushed, or maybe something?
I'd want to see the film before I evaluate each one.
The one I was thinking about was the incompletion to Butler early in the game. He scrambled away from the defense. I don't know if you
Yeah, I'd want to see the film.
Coach, how much do you want to see this film? Because obviously there were 2 turnovers inside the 10-yard line. Was this something you were talking to the team about, or?
Yeah, listen, make no mistake about it, and I said it, I think, at the beginning, there's some things that are just, eat at you a little bit that we can't do as a team and expect to win against good teams. Those are the things that we've got to get corrected.
job Trey Hendrickson did today. He seemed to be disruptive. Could you talk about him a little bit?
He's had a good camp. I like where his weight's at. He plays with great energy and effort, and I'm anxious to watch and get the grades, but I thought he was active as well.
Is there anything in particular that's been holding him back the last few years?
Well, it's his third year. So last year, I thought his weight got a little light, and I think this year he's playing a little stronger, a little heavier. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Hello and welcome into the New Orleans Saints postgame show presented by Verizon. I'm Caroline Gonzalez coming to you here from the Ochsner Sports Performance Center. Well, the New Orleans Saints defeated the Los Angeles Chargers today 19-17 as they took them on there in Carson, California. We'll be hearing from multiple people today as we head back to the press conference in Carson, California. We'll hear from Teddy Bridgewater along with Taysom Hill. We did hear from Sean Payton earlier. He did say that Teddy Bridgewater was a little sick today. Tough to get some traction going for the Saints offense early in the game today. We'll also be hearing hopefully from Alvin Kamara, Trey Hendrickson, along with linebacker A.J. Klein. We'll try our best to take you quarter by quarter. We'll also be hearing from Todd Graffinini and John DeShazier there in Carson, California. Again, we'll get those press conferences to you as soon as we can. Again, want to take you quarter by quarter. Of course, the Saints coming late in the fourth quarter took the lead eventually over the Chargers. Largely in part due to a fourth quarter surge by Taysom Hill. I mean, he went into the game late in the second quarter, took over late in the third quarter, and then gained traction throughout the fourth quarter and eventually took the lead late in the fourth quarter and then sealed the game with a interception from Colton Jumper. Taysom Hill led the team today in rushing yards with 53 and in passing yards with 136 on 11 of 15 completed passes. Taysom Hill, as I said, did come into the game late in the second quarter for a sick Teddy Bridgewater, but Teddy Bridgewater did get the start today for the Saints. Teddy Bridgewater, of course, taking over for Drew Brees in the starting role, but the Chargers as well did not have their starting quarterback in Phillip Rivers. The Saints started on defense. Trey Hendrickson was an absolute menace, especially in the first quarter for the Saints. You also saw a start from Caden Ellis, as well as Marshawn Lattimore, Eli Apple, Marcus Williams, and then eventually P.J. Williams coming in for the Saints secondary. Let's go ahead and head over to Carson as we hear from Trey Hendrickson.
Left some plays out on the field that I need to finish, for my coaches and teammates. So.
Trey, coach says that he likes the weight where you are right now. How much are you different this year compared to last year as far as your weight?
Well, 270 feels good. I don't know if the weight was proportional. This is the strongest I've been, and I plan to improve every year.
What did you do to get up to where you are now in terms of weight?
Just discipline.
Did you have to change your diet or anything too? You could be 270, like you said, it's good weight or it's bad weight. So
it's just, like I said, just focusing on the details and having discipline in every area of your life. Just discipline.
Did you see something in particular that allowed you to be disruptive today, especially early?
At the end of the day, it's just want to, but like I said, I need to finish plays that were left out there, and that's what I plan on to do moving forward.
Do you feel like you've had a good camp? Preseason so far?
It's preseason, I'm just putting stuff out there and letting everybody else evaluate it.
Does it feel better to you than the first 2 years? Like, do you feel, mentally better or physically better than the first 2 years?
I mean, that's the goal going into every year, is to be better mentally and physically, so I plan to do that every year.
Trey, leverage-wise, I know you guys work on it all the time, but is that something you feel like you've gotten significantly better at?
Just listening to Ryan in the meeting rooms, and where to place your hands and eyes and stuff like that. It's just those are things that help you see things quicker, and it's just a focus. And like I said, it's a everyday thing. So.
do you think there's anything maybe that held you back? You're going to the NFL at first, things changed from year to year?
No, but I wasn't going to leave anything in doubt this year.
Trey, how much do you and your teammates feed off of Taysom Hill and that energy shows, or do you all feed off?
Yeah, he brings a different element to the game. When a quarterback's dropping his shoulder, it's always fun to watch. So I love him. He's a great special teams guy, and he brings it every day.
Anyone else? Perfect. Thank you.
And he's a great quarterback too. I play with him on special teams.
Welcome back into the New Orleans Saints postgame show here at the Ochsner Sports Performance Center. Again, the New Orleans Saints defeated the Los Angeles Chargers today 19-17 in Carson, California. It's their second preseason game of the year. They will face the New York Jets next week. You just heard from Trey Hendrickson. We should be hearing from a couple other players out there in Carson as the broadcast goes on. You heard Trey Hendrickson. I told you earlier, he was an absolute menace in the first quarter, actually the first half. It seemed like he was was at every play. He was everywhere he needed to be. You heard him just say he wanted to leave no room for doubt that he belonged on this 53-man roster. He was listening to defensive line coach Ryan Nielsen, about his hand placement, where he needed to be, and obviously we're seeing the fruits of that labor from Trey Hendrickson as he was an absolute menace today in today's game. You also saw Payton Ellis, who has kind of been a Saints favorite in training camp this year. He's kind of done all of the intangibles. He's getting extra reps after practice. He's the last guy into the locker room out of practice every single day. I mean, you've heard from the Saints beat reporters. It's been every single practice that Payton Ellis has been the last person in the locker room after getting reps, after signing autographs. So the Saints seem to like him. He's doing a lot of the intangibles, as I said, but obviously the reps on the football field are where it counts for Payton Ellis at that linebacker position, the rookie out of Idaho. Again, we're going to take you through each quarter. So defensively, Trey Hendrickson, as I said, doing well on defense for the Saints, as well as Von Bell. He had a big pass breakup in the first quarter, along with A.J. Klein. We saw A.J. Klein had an interception in the first quarter. The pass was batted up by David Onyemata, and then batted up by David Onyemata, and then A.J. Klein came up with it and got that interception. On the offensive end for the Saints, Teddy Bridgewater did get the start, as well as Alvin Kamara, Jared Cook, Emmanuel Butler, who is a wide receiver who we haven't seen a whole lot of. We didn't see him last week in the preseason game, but we did see him this week. He's been a training camp standout, and I'm sure the Saints surely want to see what he can do going forward. A little bit of miscommunication we saw in the first quarter between Eric McCoy and Teddy Bridgewater. Eric McCoy snapped the ball before Teddy Bridgewater was ready. They fumbled it, and the Chargers obviously recovered that snap and got the fruits of that labor in the first quarter. Again, Teddy Bridgewater finished the first quarter with just 7 yards. We should be hearing from him shortly in Carson, California, in the press conference. The Saints finished the first quarter just ahead by 3 with a field goal by Will Lutz, so they took the lead 3-0, and then of course went into the second quarter trying to get some offensive traction. Like I said, Teddy Bridgewater just having 5 yards of completion in the first quarter for the Saints. So trying to get some traction for the Saints offense. He did stay in the game through the second quarter. Again, Sean Payton earlier said that he wasn't feeling his best, but did play through 2 quarters for the Saints. The Saints defense started off well, but then kind of lost some of their momentum as you started taking key guys out, as you want to obviously see more of the reps from other players on the team. You saw Eli Apple, Marcus Davenport. Let's go ahead and head out to Carson, California, as we hear from Alvin Kamara.
Alvin, obviously you weren't in on the errors inside the red zone today, but what did you say to your teammates as they were coming off the field to try to stay focused and not do that again?
You got to move on to the next play. That's all it is. We can't. It's tough when you have good field position and you have errors like that. But of course you don't want it to happen, but it happened. You got to move on to the next play. That's all I was just trying to echo to those guys.
What impressed you most about Taysom's performance in the second half?
We've seen it for a year, 2 years now. Taysom, whenever he has the ball in his hand and whenever he has, control of that offense, he does his job. He made some good plays, made some good runs, and just gave us some life in the second half.
Coach Payton said that Teddy was sick today. Could you tell the difference in him?
I knew he was sick, so it's tough. We still gotta do our jobs when we're out here sick, not feeling well. So hopefully it gets better soon.
As a guy who returned punts last year, how would you assess Deontay Harris's performance as a returner?
He's doing well. I think he has a good knack for it. It looks natural, fluid. Just gotta lock in a little bit more and catch every ball. Every ball has to be caught. It's different now. We playing the game of field position, and I think he understands that. He had a couple good returns, and he's learning. It's only his second week back there fielding those punts, so he's learning.
A couple of injuries to your reserve alignment today. How ready are you guys to overcome or handle those injuries as you get into the part of the season that matters?
I think we'll be fine. We still got some time, and it's next man up. You know, hopefully those guys, hopefully those guys can get back healthy. Hopefully it's nothing too major. I'm not sure. I think Ola went down, and Clark went down. Not sure what the actual injuries are, but you know, prayers for them, and hopefully they can bounce back. But you know, guys, there's guys in that room that are ready to play, so we got next man mentality.
Thanks, Alvin.
Yep.
We have AJ Klein next.
Yeah.
All right.
What did you see on that pick there early in the game?
Basically being in the right place at the right time. I mean, I didn't do anything special. Ball was tipped. Had pressure on the quarterback, forced a bad throw. So, right place, right time. I didn't do anything extraordinary.
Looked like the first team offense was locked in early, making some turnover on down to start the game. Like the first team offense was locked in. I mean, defense was locked in.
Yeah, I think coming off of last week, we were a little disappointed with a few big plays that we gave up, explosive plays. So coming back, we want to be able to be stout in the run game and obviously get off the field on third downs. I think we did that. So that was a step forward, but second and third groups, obviously we still have things to improve on. Some self-inflicted wounds, personal penalties, or personal fouls. But I think we came out in the second half, especially the fourth quarter, and definitely turned the momentum back in our favor. And obviously interception to seal the game too.
Trey Hendrickson was really disruptive early. What did you see from him there?
I think Trey's been overlooked these past few years. Obviously, he's finally starting to find his niche in this defense. But he had a great week of practice all week. Was very disruptive both days, and he's definitely coming on strong for us. And he's a great situational pass rusher for us, as well as a guy that can play teams. So I know he wished he would have had that sack that he got close on, but all that matters is he's getting the quarterback's face.
You've been with him obviously since his rookie season. So going from year 2 to year 3, what would you say is his biggest step that he's taken?
I think he has a great understanding for the defense. He really understands fronts, alignments, and he's definitely become a student of the game, and definitely working on his technique. And that goes to Coach Ryan and the defensive line, obviously working with these guys. But he came in a little heavier this year, which is good for him, and I think it's definitely paying off.
Doesn't seem like he's much of a talker.
No, Trey's very, very reserved, I think, as far as he keeps to himself. Obviously, he can be fiery on the field, which we like. Obviously, if we keep him in check, but I think he definitely brings a lot of positives to this football team, and I think he'll be a force to reckon with once the regular season comes. Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
We're going to have Teddy next.
Welcome back into the New Orleans Saints postgame show presented by Verizon. I'm Caroline Gonzalez. Again, the New Orleans Saints defeat the Los Angeles Chargers today in their second preseason game, 19-17 there in Carson, California. We should be hearing from Taysom Hill and possibly Teddy Bridgewater later today in this broadcast. Of course, Sean Payton did say earlier that Teddy Bridgewater was sick for the game today, so unsure if we will be getting him at the podium, but as soon as we can get you over to them, we will. Again, Taysom Hill and Teddy Bridgewater. We'll also hear from our own Todd Graffanini and John DeShazier. Again, let's take you through what happened over the course of the game. Teddy Bridgewater, again, finished the first quarter with just 7 passing yards. Excuse me, I misspoke earlier with 5. And then as they went into the second quarter, early on, Teddy Bridgewater had a pass to Dwayne Washington, which was batted up and then finally intercepted by the Chargers, which then led to the other end, Andre Patton getting some separation from P.J. Williams, and the Chargers taking the lead 7-3 over the New Orleans Saints. Then as the quarter neared the end, Chris Banjo got called for a personal foul. Let's go ahead and go to the podium there in Carson, California, as we hear from Teddy Bridgewater.
Guys, be able to fight 4 quarters and come out with the victory. It was a game of momentum shifts, and our guys did a great job of taking the momentum in the second half and keeping it. So we came out with the victory, get the head back to New Orleans and prepare for New York.
Coach had mentioned that you played this game sick. Was this something that happened last night and you woke up with a stomach flu or something?
I came down with something about 2 days ago, but and I owe it to those guys to be out there. And we practice together. We give our all when we're out there, and I think I just have to do a better job of just fighting through difficult situations and things like that. Our guys are still out there competing at a high level, and I have to be out there. If I'm out there with those guys, I have to continue to elevate my game. And today just was one of those days where things weren't really clicking the way I hoped it would.
If you had to give yourself a grade for this game, how would you evaluate your play?
Man, it was a poor game. Missed a couple throws. The energy wasn't there on my behalf. I have to do a better job, like I said, when I'm dealing with things. I've just still been able to provide energy, and those guys feed off my energy. When I walk into that huddle, those guys like to see confidence, a guy who they believe in. And today I just didn't give those guys the energy that we deserve.
On the interception to Dwayne Washington inside the 10-yard line, was that a pass that just got away from you? Or?
It's something that came up back in the spring, and Coach mentioned it to me. Sometimes when I get off my progression, I get to the check down, and sometimes I get to it too fast. And it was one of those things that happened. I got off the guy. We ran a pattern. They covered it well. And I was going through the progression, getting to the back, and just had to throw them a better ball, a catchable ball. Those guys, they're not wide receivers, But like I said, I just had to throw them a better pass and avoid turning the ball over in that situation.
Teddy, on the fumbled snap, was that it looked like it kind of got on you early. Was that just miscommunication?
Yeah, there was some miscommunication, and that's something we've been taking pride in all training camp. We haven't had many errors like that throughout camp, so I'm pretty sure we'll make the corrections tomorrow. Tomorrow's a Tell the Truth Monday, and you have to continue to just try to get better and move forward, and not let the same things happen again. Thank you.
Jordan. Oh, hey, welcome back into the New Orleans Saints postgame show here from the Oshner Sports Performance Center. Again, the New Orleans Saints defeated the Los Angeles Chargers today 19-17 in their second preseason game. We should be hearing shortly from Taysom Hill and possibly Cam Jordan. We'll also throw it to Todd Graffinini and our own John DeShazier here in a little bit as they are in Carson, California as well. We'll get their postgame analysis. I've been trying to take you quarter by quarter, but again, we keep getting interrupted by players. How rude of them. But let's go ahead and go to the third quarter. Taysom Hill came into the game late in the second quarter and then took over, of course, in the third quarter. Taysom Hill kind of led the charge all the way for the Saints as their offense struggled to gain traction. But again, he led the way for the Saints. They finally found a connection between him and Austin Carr out of the slot. He had a 27-yard touchdown reception as the Chargers still took the lead, but Saints gained some traction again on offense. Chargers were still in the lead 17-10. Justin Hardy with a pass breakup for the Saints on defense. And again, Deontay Harris is a guy that I do want to harp on because he has been the sole punt returner for this team in this game. It was between him and Marcus Sherrills. It was also a little bit between Austin Carr. But Deontay Harris took every punt return for the Saints in this game. And you heard Coach say earlier he did a pretty good job, and he was happy with those results. In the fourth quarter, the Saints again gained some traction for their offense. Devine Ozigbo did great as in his running back position for the Saints. He did fumble, though, on the 9-yard line as the Saints turned it over. But again, let's go back to the Carson, California, as we hear from Deontay Harris.
Played pretty well, but always room for improvement.
These past couple of days of practice, I've noticed Ted Ginn would pull you aside after a catch on a punt return. And how does it mean to you to have guys on your team who have experience returning punts, passing that on to you?
It's like a family atmosphere here, so for somebody like him to pull me to the side and coach me up whenever I do something wrong or even tell me I did something right, I mean, it's just a blessing.
Last week you had mentioned you thought you were close to breaking one. How do you feel today? Was there anything that happened out there that you thought you were going to break?
Yeah, I had a few that I thought I could have broke. We'll watch the film though and see.
Dante,
I guess. I mean, I don't know.
Is it moving faster or slower than?
Definitely moving faster.
Did Coach Payton get on you at all about the one that you didn't catch?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, he felt as though, and I did too. I felt as though I could have came up and caught it. So I mean, we always preach no balls on the ground, so that was on me.
What did you see on that return? Do you think it was going over your head, or?
No, it was just bad judgment. Appreciate it.
Welcome back into the New Orleans Saints postgame show here at the Ochsner Sports Performance Center. We will be taking you out to Carson, California as players arrive at the podium. Again, we should be hearing from Taysom Hill shortly, as well as our own Todd Graffinini and John DeShazier. I'm Caroline Gonzalez here in the Ochsner Sports Performance Center. Again, we should be hearing from Taysom Hill here shortly. Saints finally took the lead near the end of the game as Colton Jumper came up with an interception late in the game and secured the win for the Saints 19-17. Of course, that is large in part due to Will Lutz's field goal near the end of the game there. Taysom Hill, again, leading the team in rushing yards with 53 and passing yards with 136 on 11 of 15 passes. Again, we should be hearing from him soon in Carson, California, hopefully. Some guys to watch today going forward in training camp. Caden Ellis, he's a guy who got a lot of reps for the Saints today in special teams and on defense at the linebacker position. The Saints are surely going to keep an eye on him moving forward in training camp, as well as Deontay Harris, who you just heard from the small college of Assumption College. Again, taking all the snaps at punt returner today for the Saints, as well as Marcus Davenport. Marcus Davenport, defensive end that the Saints traded up for in last year's draft, a guy that a lot of people would like to see big results. I know John DeShazier earlier in the week said he wants to see him jump off the page for the Saints defense. So surely we'll be seeing a lot more of him in this Saints defense. Let's go ahead and go to Carson, California as we hear from somebody else. Nope, we're keeping it right here at the Ochsner Sports Performance Center. Again, we will be throwing it out to Carson, California when we have somebody at the podium. That was just a little tease for us, a little mic check mishap. But again, we will be throwing it out to whoever comes up to the podium. We are not sure. Again, Marcus Davenport, a guy that we're waiting to see jump off the page. He did have some glimpses of great snaps last year, but again, someone who you want to see outperform himself from last year, as well as Eric McCoy. Eric McCoy, again, another guy that the Saints drafted this year that has kind of earned the starting center role so far in the preseason. Again, it's between him, Nick Easton, who we've been seeing play more at guard this year, but also Cameron Tom, who we did see mostly in the second half today, between him and Eric McCoy. Eric McCoy, again, the rookie out of A&M, who the Saints hope to see take over Max Unger's position, who retired this offseason. Another guy that the Saints are looking at, Emmanuel Butler. He is someone who that Saints fans have seen jump off the page necessarily in training camp this year at the wide receiver position. He's been making all the plays, doing all the things right. So hopefully we'll see more of him as we go ahead in training camp as well as preseason. Let's go ahead and go to Carson, California as we hear from Taysom Hill.
Would you describe that second half as fun?
Absolutely. You know, we talk about it all the time. I think sometimes you get in training camp and they're long days and you forget, and you oftentimes have to remind yourself that we get to play, this game, and this isn't work, and it's a lot of fun to have the opportunity. Not many people get to. So having the opportunity to get on the field and play is a great opportunity. We had fun today.
Was that some examples of all the things you can do well as a quarterback? You know, some of the running, throwing on the run and just running. And was that like what you do well on display in one half?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I haven't seen all the numbers, or, I got to go back and watch it and stuff, but I felt like we were able to move the ball. And if things broke down, like, we were able to avoid negative plays. And, I know I gave up a sack, but we were able to come back from that and convert on third down later. So I think, having the ability to make plays when things aren't there just make us more difficult to stop. And again, just avoiding negative plays.
23 Kind of broke down, got to the edge there. What'd you see on that play?
Yeah, I mean, I was trying to get the ball. We had an over route. I was trying to get the ball over there and see if we got free. And I felt pressure. And so I had to avoid, and unfortunately I had to avoid away from the route and the concept that we had going. And so at that point, I was just trying to avoid a negative play. And I felt like I could get the edge instead of just throwing the ball away and try to get some yards. And we were able to do that. And I tried to get what I could and then avoid a hit and get down and, gave us some momentum, which we were lacking there for a little bit. So that was my mindset.
Do they tell you to get down more than you do, or are they okay with you taking on tacklers one-on-one?
I've never had a specific conversation, of hey, you need to protect yourself. But I think it's kind of an unwritten rule. And so I try to do that. I tell them all the time that, I feel like I'm going to break every tackle, so it's hard to give myself up. But I think, there are opportunities where you get what you can get and you go down and protect yourself. And I felt like tonight, I can't think of one unnecessary hit I took. I got sacked, but that's the only one that really comes to mind.
Taysom, 2 turnovers today inside the red zone.
Yeah.
As a quarterback, how much do you put on yourself to keep the troops focused, so to speak, and to rally them so they don't lose that focus?
Yeah, I mean, everything starts with us. We touch the ball every play, and after a play, you try to create a mindset that, hey, stay in the moment, on to the next. And I will tell you, the only thing that's really frustrating for me, and sometimes as a quarterback you have to check yourself, but you can't let a previous play dictate what's going to happen next play. And so, look, everyone on our team wants to go out and be really successful, and they're going to go out and do the best that they can every play, and stuff happens. So the only frustrating thing is if guys let that linger. Which I didn't think that happened tonight. We had a couple turnovers, and then the next drive we were able to bounce back, and I thought that was a really good thing coming out of the game.
Sean said that Teddy was sick heading into this game. Did you feel for him a little bit when he was in the first half, knowing that he maybe wasn't 100%?
Yeah, certainly. It's a tough game. It's a tough position to play if you're not able to give it 100%. It really is demanding, and it requires 100% of your energy and your focus. And if there's something lingering over your head, it makes it difficult.
Could you tell with him?
Yeah, I mean, I think Teddy was a little down energy-wise today, and I think he was feeling crummy throughout the week, and we were aware of that, and we tried to help him out when we could and allow him to get some rest throughout the week when there are opportunities.
When you are feeling crummy, how do you push through and just try to bring as much energy as you can?
I mean, I think we've all been there. We played the game for long enough that you're not going to feel 100%, and this game, it's very rare to feel 100% as you go into a game. So I think you just try to focus even more. I think there are a lot of distractions throughout a week and throughout a season, and certainly being sick and having something nagging at you adds to that. And I think you just have to be conscious of staying in the moment, and if it requires you to stay focused even harder, then you just do the best you can.
Taysom, I know you have like a lot of objectives in these preseason games.
Yep.
How much at one point is it just, hey, I got to win the game for the team? Is that talked about on the sidelines?
Yeah, no doubt. That's all. I mean, that is the objective. As we went into halftime, Coach obviously wasn't too happy with the way that we were playing offensively. We had great opportunities. Our defense played really well, and we squandered a few opportunities there. And Coach let us know that he was not happy with the way that we were going. And so I felt, again, as a quarterback and the guy that's calling the plays, controlling the huddle, touching the ball every play, that it kind of came down to me because I had the opportunity to play the second half, that I felt like we needed some energy. And the thing that I kept reiterating in the huddle was we're going to have an opportunity to win this football game. And I know it's a preseason game, but this is what it's all about. And if we came out here to not win, then we're wrong. And so that was the objective.
The pass you threw to Austin, kind of, what was that? What did you see, and was he the first read?
Austin Carr?
Yeah.
He was not the first read. We were in a 4-by-1 formation, which sometimes can be difficult for defenses. And most defenses will have some checks. And I saw the flat defender buzz out underneath it, but then I saw his eyes turn back to me into our running back. And so the second I saw his body language come back to the halfback, and then I was able to confirm that the corner went with our outside receiver, and then I knew that he was going to be open. And so I just got him the ball.
How do you feel the joint practices with the Chargers kind of helped you all kind of execute this win?
It certainly helps us prepare, because you get a couple days seeing their defenses, so you kind of know what you're going to see on game day. You know what their bread and butter is. Certainly some of their pressures that you can expect. So from that standpoint, it makes it easier on a quarterback when you've seen all these looks before, actually against them. So that was helpful. And then I think overall, just practicing with the Chargers, it's kind of hard as you go through training camp. You have 2 weeks where you're just practicing against each other. It really creates an opportunity to kind of see where you're at as a team and evaluate yourself and yourself as a team as a whole. And I thought it was a great opportunity for us. Good? Thanks, guys.
Welcome back into the New Orleans Saints postgame show presented by Verizon. I'm Caroline Gonzalez. You just heard from Taysom Hill, who led the charge for the Saints today as they defeated the Los Angeles Chargers in their second preseason game, 19-17, out there in Carson, California. Enough talking about it. Let's go ahead and see some highlights from tonight's game, and then we'll hear from our own John DeShazier and Todd Graffinini.
Going to try to go for it on 4th down. And we'll get it. Jackson slashing, and he is dropped for a loss. The Saints, who has emerged as a serious leader for this team. Jackson trying to get low. We are scoreless here in the opening quarter. Tyrod Taylor throws a nice deep ball. Tried to drop it in the bucket. Travis Benjamin had it knocked away.
Tremendous play by Bell with the right hand as the ball is going to be dropped right over the shoulder of Benjamin. That is a big league play. Perfect timing, no pass interference.
You know, a lot of that, the stats can be thrown off based on if you're up big and teams are throwing against you. Taylor, tip ball, it's intercepted. Picked up by A.J. Klein. And the Saints come up with a turnover off the deflection.
Well, watch Taylor. He's trying to hit the pass over the middle. But this is going to hit the left hand. The big number 93 there for the Saints. Tremendous reaction by Onyemata. Look at him get up there. So back-to-back plays.
The numbers.
Other than to say the Chargers won.
They did mention that. Bridgewater, look out, popped up in the air. Intercepted. Jalen Watkins with the pick for L.A. And this turned into a gift for the Chargers. Saints were threatening to score. Instead, they turned it over. Crowd the line. Under 6 minutes to go, first half. Jones off the back pedal. End zone. Touchdown. Separation for Payton. The Chargers take the lead. He beat P.J. Williams on the play.
The receiver, look at the pressure coming right at him. Unblocked, 2 men. Ball lofted perfectly to Payton for the score.
Competitive, and he believes that Bridgewater and Hill are starters in this league. High punt from Morstead. Pope backpedals to the 19. And he has room. Look out, Troymaine Pope! He will go! Touchdown, Chargers! 81 yards!
Now, this is just an outstanding job of setting up tacklers, making 3 miss, and then the speed to outrun Washington for the end zone. 81 yards and just what the Chargers needed here at the end of the first half.
Saints take over deep in their own territory with 8:06 to go in the third. Play fake, Hill. He hits his man, and it's Cyril Grayson. LSU track star showing off the speed for 23 yards and a first down. Hill. Strong throw. Touchdown. On the money to Austin Carr. Taysom Hill with a BB.
Exciting young quarterback / everything. Steps into this throw, puts it on a line. No time for the defense to react. Carr walks into the end zone.
Nobody near Carr. Hill to throw it. Avoids. Hill turns it into something. Turns it into more. Taysom Hill inside the 20. Hill is creative.
Hill is putting on here in the third quarter. Looking down the field, breaks a tackle in the pocket. Steps out of a tackle there, outruns a tackler there. Oh, he ain't going out of bounds. He's got bigger things on it.
Minutes to go. Play fake. Off the boot. Hill got his man. Touchdown. Ozigbo.
6 for 6 on the drive. And again, getting outside of the containment of Lanier and finding Ozigbo for the score.
This is for the lead. From 28 yards away, Lutz. He's got it. Saints go in front with 1:05 to play.
Miss Morstead.
That was the backup long snapper, and Nick Moore wanted to give him a shot under pressure conditions. Stick, who was a dual threat at North Dakota State for the Bison. 2nd and 10. Stick intercepted. It is Colton Jumper. All the way. Touchdown, Saints. Multiple flags on the field.
15-yard penalty. The Saints will keep the ball. First down.
All right, so it's Porter Gustin on the penalty. Touchdown is nullified, but the interception stands for Colton Jumper. And now all they have to do is take a knee.
Yeah, a little miscommunication here. Obviously, Stick thought that Scott was going to cut to the outside. Scott turned inside.
Thank you very much, Caroline. We are back here live in Los Angeles at Dignity Health Sports Park as the New Orleans Saints pick up their first victory in the preseason to go 1-1, a 19-17 thriller over the Los Angeles Chargers. Todd Graffinini along with John DeShazer here in the media room. JD, kind of a roller coaster if you were a Saints fan today. First half, not a whole lot of good. We saw some good stuff from the defense, but offensively needed to improve. Second half, though, all Saints shut them out in the second half. Chargers didn't score a point. And, of course, Taysom Hill took over for the Saints offense. But good job to get the victory. Now they'll look at the tape and clean things up before they head to New Jersey next week.
Yeah, Graf, if you're keeping score, you always want to be the one that's got the bigger score. I mean, and that's the objective, win the game. But nobody's going to be singing "We Are the Champions" after this one. I mean, there was nothing pretty about this one until late down the second half. We saw some good things, but for the most part, we even heard Coach Payton say, look, in the first half, the offense stunk. They really did not play well. We got an explanation. Teddy Bridgewater wasn't feeling well. And it looked like it affected the entire offense. They were sluggish. They were slow. They were lethargic. And it was not the crisp offensive performance that we saw Teddy Bridgewater have in the preseason opener, but they were able to win. That's the main thing. You much rather clean up your mistakes in a win than in a loss.
It really overshadowed what was a dominating performance in the early stages of the ball game for the New Orleans Saints defense. They were wreaking havoc on the Chargers' offensive line, especially Trey Hendrickson was flat unblockable at times. We talked about it on social media. It was great to see him. And that one pass interference call on Ken Crawley kind of turned the momentum of the game around. But if you go back and look at it, that was the only touchdown that the Chargers scored in the entire ball game offensively. So the defense played well.
Yeah, I thought the defense, you think about the first 3 drives, you get a stop on 4th down, which is the equivalent of a turnover. You get a 3 and out, and then you get the turnover, the interception by A.J. Klein. I thought they really played well, that number 1 defense. Got after it. Trey Hendrickson had one of the loudest one-tackle games you'll see in the preseason. I mean, only 1 tackle, but he lived in the backfield. He was pretty much unblockable in that first half. So I thought the Saints did a lot of good things with that first-team defense. Offensively is where it really kind of bogged down, but defensively I thought they had a really good time. You mentioned the pass interference by Ken Crawley. In a regular season game, especially in the second half, I think you might have seen the challenge flag on that one because it was a little bit iffy. But you like a lot of the things that you saw from this team defensively today.
Now, obviously, things have to be cleaned up. You cannot have, and thank goodness it's a preseason game, but you can't have 2 turnovers inside the opponent's 10-yard line. You cannot get away with that in the regular season. The Saints were able to do that today. And then you go to Taysom Hill, who was the best player on the field for the New Orleans Saints today. He led the team in rushing. He led the team, obviously, in throwing the football. That pass to Austin Carr really turned the momentum of the game around, and the Saints took over from there.
He looks very much like a quarterback, but offensively, you mentioned there's things to clean up. You mentioned the 2 turnovers in the red zone. And if you mix in 1 or 5 in the red zone in conversions, that generally is a recipe for disaster and a loss. So, 1, you attribute the defense to getting some stops. But 2, Taysom Hill really came in that second half, and he really energized the team. We saw him on that 22-yard run. He is a fantastic athlete. He can get open when things break down. The pocket breaks down. He's strong enough to run out of tackles. Guys can't slap fight him down to the ground. And so he's able to make some things happen. And now we're seeing him make throws, really good throws. That touchdown to Austin Carr, really, really nice throw. The second touchdown, a nice little rollout down at the goal line where he's got the option to run it in himself, but he finds his receiver. He's making some good decisions at quarterback.
Now, one of the storylines in camp, who is going to return kicks? Who's going to return punts? JD, we might have found ourselves a punt returner in Deontay Harris. He continues to slither through holes and get chunks of yardage now. I know Coach Payton wasn't happy with him for allowing a punt to hit the ground one time, and he's still learning this thing, but might be a keeper.
Well, Graf, you've been around sports a long time, and you know the most important ability is availability. He's the guy who's out there right now, and he's shown some ability to be able to get it done. He popped one today, I think a 26-yard punt return where it looked like he might take it to the house. He's got that kind of potential. We thought Marcus Sherrills was going to be the punt returner, kick returner on this team. He hadn't been available to go. Deontay Harris has taken advantage of it, and you can see the juice and the pop he gives you on those special teams. It's just a matter of time before he breaks one. I mean, that's just the law of averages. He's a guy who, when he gets the ball in his hands, he's got an electricity about him, and you look forward to seeing him get it.
Well, JD, a productive week. Obviously, the 2 practices against the Chargers Thursday and Friday. You get out of here with a win. So all in all, it was good. And now you got to get set for the Jets next Saturday night in the Meadowlands.
Yeah, a short week. There's a lot of cleanup involved. The Saints are going to practice on Monday, obviously. They'll have an off day on Tuesday, and then they'll burn up a travel day going to New Jersey, rather. So, really short week, but hopefully everything that they saw that they don't like are correctable errors. I mean, the interception off Dwayne Washington's hands, a correctable error. The fumble, you hope, is a correctable error where Ozigbo just protects the football a little bit better. Yeah, he's sliding down. The defender hits him just right, but he's got to be able to protect that football. The penalties, whether it's Ken Crawley or whether it's whoever, those are things that you believe are correctable errors. So that's what you're in the race of urgency to do, correct the errors that you can.
All right, JD, great stuff from you. We're going to wrap it up here on NewOrleansSaints.com. Big thanks to Caroline Gonzalez, who was filling in for us while we were getting the media availability of all the Saints players. Don't forget, tomorrow on CST, me and JD will have a full recap of today's 1917 Saints victory over the Los Angeles Chargers. I'm Todd Graffanini, John DeShazier. We'll see you tomorrow on CST. Have a great night, everybody.